Hey everybody, welcome to the infinite regression. Check it out, it's so infinite. Unlike your other regressions, which are far more finite, this one goes on indefinitely. Is there an end to it? Boy, I hope not, because, when I run out of regressions, I run out of days. That's the way it is with the disembodied voice that is this channel. That's right, not an actual person, just a disembodied voice. Anyway, let's play Minecraft. Because why? Because, well, it's the best way to wind down, uh, when you need some windy down times. Sometimes you just need some windy downs. Don't act like you don't need some windy downs from time to time. I know you do. Look, we haven't met, but if there's one thing I know about the people I haven't met, it's that sometimes they need some windy down. Anyway, so yeah, found a little mini ravine. It's not much, but it is a mini ravine. There's also some, wait, I could go exploring. Because, there's some dingus and whatnots. Hold up. Yeah, I've got things and suches. Wait, I think I did go up here and it was ultimately fruitless. Or was it? I don't know. It might have been. Ah, God. Okay. Ultimately fruitless. Because here I am. It just goes around in a big old dingus circle. So, yes. Fruitless as fruitless gets. But this is a big old river of lava, right? I mean, it's pretty cool. This is my river of lava. You know what? I think I'm gonna wall this up. Actually, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I do need to take it one more back for it to be the back wall, or for it to be the final wall of the mine. Do I have a lava bucket though? Oh, I suppose I should mine myself some. Well, I don't have any. You know what? I guess if no mobs are going to be spawning in here, then it's not really a blob. Let's put a torch right there to ensure non-mob spawn. I think we've lit it up pretty well. Anyway, we'll just continue as if that were very normal. It's not, but it's as normal as we need it to be. Anyway, so my hip-hop single dropped this weekend. Yeah, that's true. That's the thing that happened. And I wish I were kidding, but in fact I am not. This is funny. Students have been on me. I don't know why, oh my God. One of my students started getting on me, because I know why, too. Is because he himself is an aspiring rapper, which, of course, who isn't these days? I mean, I also aspire to hold other people's money in Instagram pictures and pretend that my lifestyle is ever so awesome, when in fact it is significantly less awesome than it appears in pictures. Anyway, yeah, that's the way it be. Anyway, so, yeah, students been bothering me, and I was like, okay, fine. I will record my debut. I know it's debut, but I like to pronounce it debut as if I were a ridiculous person. Anyway, so basically, late at night, late at night, I just put on, I've been working on this track on the sampulator. Well, I wouldn't say working on. It just had this track that I was like, oh, this is a very chill, laid back track. And I put it on And I used a rap lyrics generator, which was terrible, by the way. Like, it generated me some awful lyrics that were really, really no good. Made no sense, didn't go anywhere, were just anyway. Which, I don't know, may be a thing nowadays. Maybe they're like, no, these are 100% legitimate. This is like top 40 stuff right here. I would not know. I'm not saying that because I'm an old man who pretends to not know. Like, I legitimately do not know. But yeah, because I don't listen to enough top 40. Like, the only top 40 song that I have listened to repeatedly is, and not because, this is not because of the song, it's because of the video. I don't need you. Anyway, the Lil Nas X video, which is all the ragey rage, because Lil Nas X, who is also the person who came out with the Old Town Road song, which is a really stupid song when it comes down to it. Like, not a good song at all. It belongs in that special category of songs you can sing along with even if you don't really know them, you know? Like, how good of a song must it be if you're like, yeah, I don't know this song, I can sing it, but it just means that there's an actual simplicity there, not like a false simplicity like you get with, say, Jonathan Richman's music, which appears simple on the surface but is actually quite complex. Anyway, and is you know, hiding a complex mind. You know, he's a very interesting person, that Jonathan Richman. I would love to meet him someday, just to know, like, what is his demeanor. Like, I have never looked up an interview with Jonathan Richman, even though I easily could and have even thought about it from time to time. But part of me is like, I don't want to know unless I'm in the same room with a man. You know, like, for some reason, I, first of all, think that that is a possibility. And secondly, think that that would be more authentic. Like, him meeting Ridiculous Fan for the first time, thinking that he would be genuine with me, whereas, you know, yeah, it's all very delusional and stupid. But, hey, at least I am aware of how delusional and stupid it is. It's not like I'm one of these yahoos who's still trying to recount the vote in Arizona. Oh my God. When will it end? Seriously, when? Like, look, I don't want to get all political and go on a whole political tear, but I think it's funny that certain former presidents of ours would often say, both he and his people would often say, like, oh, these Democrats, they're just trying to go back and somehow take back, steal the the 2016 election in reverse. You know, they lost the election and now they're trying to steal it because it didn't work out in their favor. Well, I mean, it didn't work out in their favor because their candidate was Hillary Clinton, and she is objectively terrible. But, you know, aside from that, who knows? Anyway, regardless, the fact of the matter is that, yeah, they spent a lot of time saying, like, oh, they're trying to steal back the election because it didn't go their way. Meanwhile, like, what is going on still with people being like, yes, I support this guy and therefore he cannot possibly have lost. It is like, look, dude, take it from a guy who, back when I used to watch football, was an Arizona Cardinals fan. Like, uh, just because you like a certain team does not guarantee that they will win, and it is narcissistic to think otherwise. You wouldn't think that you'd have to explain concepts like that to grown adults, but indeed, in these days of ours, you do in fact have to explain such things. Anyway, it is ridiculous. So yeah, uh, except for, the problem here is not that, like, they think a team should have won when it in fact did not win, is that they think a team did win when it in fact did not. And so it would be like, looking at the scoreboard at another, 45-17 Cardinals loss, and saying like, oh, we won. We actually won that. If you discount all of their illegal touchdowns that they made after the second half, then it's very clear that we actually won. It's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, my God, the times we be living in. I'm gonna try not to go off on that too much because it's very upsetting to me. Not as a political junkie of any sort, but more of a rationalist, an empiricist, someone who values the idea of objective reality. Like, what have we done to objective reality over the last several years? We've distorted it. We've lost it. We can't agree that, like, if we can't agree on the rightful occupant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue as a nation, then we have really lost our way. And that is a serious problem, and we need to confront that problem head on. I forget who it is. It's a cold country. Which leads me to believe it's either, like, honestly, this is the kind of stupid thing that, hold on. I'm going to actually look it up because, is it Iceland? There's some I think it's in Iceland. What? Finland, maybe. I didn't want to assume it was Finland because I always assume it's Finland because Finland is so very good at so many things. Anyway, I mean, yeah, it might be Finland. This is not related to that. There's a country that actually has a government department for the combating of misinformation, because it is seen as, first of all, so antithetical to governance and to having a working country. If you can't get the citizenry to agree on what is true and what is false on a very basic level, not in terms of, like, we will always have a division of political right and political left. That will always be a thing. And there have been a number of interesting studies that show that there are some neurological differences between people who tend toward right-leaning politics and those who tend toward left-leaning politics. But, we've done so much to exacerbate whatever natural tendencies there may have been that it's, it's blown all out of proportion, and there's no clear path to recovery at this point. Anyway, yeah. Remember when I started talking about my super fun hip hop song where I talk about big flappy slappy booties? It's true. These are the actual lyrics. As is the lyric, "There's no duty in that booty." And that is a lyric that I came up with because the rap lyrics generator was not smart enough to rhyme duty with booty. Swear to God, do I have to do this whole thing myself? Apparently I do. Apparently I should have been writing my own lyrics from the start, but that seems like work, and I don't want to work on something that I have no faith in. And my hip-hop career is one of those things in which I place absolutely zero faith. Sorry to all my diehard fans out there. I know this comes as quite a blow. Anyway. So yeah, that was the thing. My sweet hip-hop single. Oh man, so much freaking gravel. You think I want this gravel, man? I don't want this gravel. I mean, gravel is pretty good for lava. That's how I deal with lava. But this early in a mine, I don't have to be dealing with gravel is the thing. Anyway, don't worry, we're gonna be fine, I guess. Indeed. So yeah, today, as you may have noticed, or probably not, because if you're watching this, that means that you're not me. And if you're not me, then there's no way that you're watching this on the day in which it occurred. And if you're not me, what are you doing? Anyway. So, oh, by the way, if you're wondering to yourself, because, okay, let me be perfectly honest. I was told by a colleague of mine that there is a contingent of teenage boys who claim to watch my channel, but they cannot possibly. You know what I think it is? I think that they found the one that is attached to my school Gmail account, which has my actual name on it. This one doesn't have my actual name on it. And so, yeah, if you find that account, as some people have, what you're going to see is mostly Your Cylinder the Play, which is our YouTube spoof play thing that we did last semester when we couldn't have a regular drama class. We just filmed a bunch of, spoofy clip segments and threw them all together and lost any semblance of plot early on and never ever regained it, but still had some funny bits. So, that's good. Anyway, yeah, that was our delightful little play, but that's probably what people are finding. That, and there's like a drama awards video. So, anyway, if indeed teenage boys from Parker High School are watching this channel, oh my God, Do your friggin' homework. You're probably failing your classes. Look, as a teacher who teaches at your school, you're probably failing your classes. Do your friggin' homework. You know that homework you have to do that you've been like, do it whenever. Like, now is whenever. You have time to watch this? I'm just mining cobblestone. There's not even anything good happening. Like, go do your freaking homework. Like, look, you could do your homework and watch this, and you will miss nothing. So, yeah, just do your dang homework. Anyway, with that out of the way. So, here, let me preface things properly. So, earlier in the year, we moved our tortoise outside. We have a sulcata tortoise named Nigel. You know, gave an awesome male name, you know, so that you can be like, "Morning, Nigel." And the fun thing about it is that Nigel is probably female. You can't really determine the sex of a tortoise until they are, couple, usually few years old. But this one is showing early signs. Diamonds, yeah. The width of the scutes on the back of the shell, framing the tail. That's your key indicator right there in many, many tortoise species, because it tends to be wider in females so that they can, pass eggs safely through the cloaca, the vagina, as twere, because it is. I had a student who was obsessed with cloacas because cloacas are combination buttocks and combination anus, and the buttocks doesn't enter into it. But yeah, combination anus and vagina does all the roles. Which coincidentally, I mean, you'll find such things in birds. Because have you ever wondered why bird craps are white? Is because they contain urates. In lieu of urination, like humans would do, when birds, when birds take a dump out they cloaca, they also, the white stuff is the pee part, pretty much. I might be oversimplifying and or entirely misstating this. I am not now, nor have I ever been, a zoologist, but I am the sort of person who understands that it is pronounced zoologist, as in zoology, the study of animals, and zoo, the place where we keep the animals. You say to your friends, would you like to go to the zoo today? And they say, yes, the zoo, the Zoological Institute. Yes, I would love to go there and see the animals being, I wouldn't say mistreated openly, but certainly not given the kind of care that they require in many cases. You would think that the zoo would do much better, but the problem is that in order for most zoos to survive, they really need, like, you've probably had the experience, if you've ever been to a zoo, that you go and the animals are sleeping or whatever. A lot of times they're sleeping because they are woefully depressed, which is true. They will engage in a lot of behaviors that you will never see in the wild, because they are so woefully depressed, because they do not have access to a habitat that is suitable. I mean, it's suitable in the sense that they don't die, but it's, it's not suitable in the sense that it is made to the ideal specifications for their optimal health and well-being. And trust me, I enjoy a good Zoo as much as anybody else, but we have to be realistic here and understand that by having a Zoo in the first place, that we are subjecting the animals to constant surveillance and contact with humans, which is not natural for many of those species. And so they react in ways that are themselves unnatural. Anyway, yeah, it's a sad thing to think about, because normally zoos spend so much time promoting their own conservational efforts, which is true. I mean, by and large, like, there are several species which would have gone 100% extinct were it not for the efforts of zoos. They are well-meaning people, but much like the the textile crises in say Africa, for instance, well-meaning people make a problem worse. Which, if you didn't know about the textile crises, the textile problem, here it is. So everybody knows that, for example, the Super Bowl. You always look and you're like, wait, how did they know the Patriots were going to win? And it's like, well, look at the freaking record. For the love of all things holy, of course the Pats are going to win. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's not it. Whichever teams are in the Super Bowl, they make up both shirts. And then whichever shirts they don't end up using, the NFL has made a public thing of saying, like, oh, we send them to starving kids in Africa so they can have NFL t-shirts that would fit actual NFL players, so they are the exact same size as starving children in Africa. Because when haven't you seen a kid eating flour paste with flies buzzing on his eyelids, who hasn't been the size of your average NFL linebacker? I mean, come on. Anyway. What? Oh, just looked over at my wife's screen because I saw movement, and then I remembered that she's in a village, and I am not. She's AFK at the moment, and yet still is, seeing some movement on her screen. Anyway, regardless. I say regardless too much. I've been noticing this. I've been watching my own videos, because somebody has to. And I realized that I say regardless too freaking much. And I'm sure that if I had a fan base, they would be like, aha, the fun Badger drinking game. Every time he says regardless, oh, you would be dead. You would die. You would die of liver failure, and I would be responsible, and I ain't taking the fall for that. So no, I am putting the ixnay, I am putting the kibosh, I am putting the whatever other, foreign language derived terms that I could possibly use to indicate that I am not sponsoring a drinking game having anything to do with me. Because I don't want to be responsible. Look, I'm not responsible. Look at me. You can't see me. I know, I don't put my face up on the thing. Why don't I? Because that's extra work I don't want to do. Like, legitimately, that's it. That's the reason. Ta-da! Extra work I don't want to do. Anyway. So, yeah. Regardless. That one was purely self-aware. So the textile issue. One of the easy legs up that a person can get into upward mobility is through textiles. It's one of the early industries that any country develops when they are industrializing. And so yes, I am acknowledging that is a thing that you have said. Anyway, so the nations, as they industrialize, need to fill these industries, and they need to build, just like playing a game of Civilization, just like playing a game of Age of Empires. You cannot build the technology trees out of turn. You simply can't. And it's not that that people aren't intelligent. It's purely a matter of infrastructure. If you don't have the infrastructure to support certain industries, then those industries cannot exist. And so technologies can only advance as the industries that support them are built. And by co-opting their entire textile sector, because we send so many textiles to Africa that they don't need it. Like, they don't need it. They would have been good on textiles if we had stopped sending them textiles in the 1980s. They would still be good on textiles. They'd be wearing those sweet, sweet parachute pants. And don't think those aren't coming back. It's funny, I had a, what did he teach? God. Mr. Myers. Did he teach math? Pretty sure he taught math. Anyway, if I'm wrong about that, then I definitely am wrong about a great many things. No, it's hard to remember sometimes. There are the teachers that make a great impact on you, and then there are those that don't. And Mr. Myers did make a great impact in the lives of several people that I know. He was a baseball coach. He was an assistant football coach. And through those things, he made a lot of impact in a lot of people's lives. Not mine, because I didn't play those sports, so whatever. But anyway, he was often seen wearing lots of polyester type things. And we guessed, and I suppose correctly, that a lot of those clothes were from the 1970s. And he's like, it all comes back. And I was like, no, it does not, sir. You look ridiculous. And then it came back pretty much, like all the things. Like within less than a decade, basically he was the most styling teacher on campus. And so it's funny because I am watching the late 1980s and early 1990s. I'm watching them be reborn in my students. And granted, not all of the aspects of those ridiculous eras are being reborn, but enough of them, like fanny packs came back into style. Like, what? What? Seriously, fanny packs in style in the 2020s. For real. I kid you not. And it's funny because, like, when I my father-in-law is like, you ever meet a guy who's so, like, he just is who he is, and he has no potential for embarrassment about who he is. He's like, nope, this is me. This is who I am. This is how I roll. And he just does not give a crap about it. Anyway, so apparently, his jam was to like roll up with a fanny pack. And this is when fanny packs were well out of style. He would just roll up with a fanny pack full of sardines and soft-boiled eggs and just be like, what's up, it's lunch. He is truly a unique person. Let's all agree on that. First time I met him, he spoke to me in fluent German for like half an hour. I didn't understand a word, but I had a good time. So that's what you get. Anyway, so yeah, it's funny to see some of the styles come back. Because, like, as a student, I told her, like, she got her hair cut like Molly Ringwald. And I'm like, oh my God, you're Molly Ringwald. And she's like, who the frick is that? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to show you footage. I showed her the dance scene from Breakfast Club, you know, when they're dancing in the library. And she was just entranced by the Molly Ringwald move, the little kick thing that Molly Ringwald does when she's dancing. And she's like, I need to learn that. And so I was like, all right, let me pull up some YouTube. And I pulled it up, and there was a tutorial from like right now on how to do the Molly Ringwald dance. Because enough people are like, hey, it's 2021. It's time for us to crack this nut. It's time for us to friggin' bust this back out. Make this happen. Make this real. Yeah. And here's the funniest. Okay. One of the dumbest haircut trends of the late 1980s, early 1990s was the perm on the man. The man getting the perm is the whole thing. Now, granted, if you were part of the African American community, you are very familiar with the Jerry curl, with the Jerry curl activator. That is a different, albeit very closely related thing to what white boys were doing. What white boys were doing is they were going and getting straight up perms at like their mama's hair salon and just getting a perm. Just getting a straight up perm. True story. And my best friend in high school, he was like, I'm going to get a perm. And I'm like, what? Because I always hated it. I always hated walking by the hair salon, the place where my dad used to teach Taekwondo classes, because, you know, late 1980s, 1990s, martial arts were the it. And now we've got, like, this year coming out, we got, like, new Streets of Rage game. We haven't had one since the 1990s. We've got new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game when we haven't had one in forever. Like, it's happening. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if Michael Bay hadn't ruined every freaking movie franchise he ever touched, then maybe we would have had decent, like, live action Transformers movies and stuff. But Michael Bay is garbage, and he makes terrible movies, and I hate everything he's ever done. And I hope that hell exists so he can burn there. What? Did I take it too far? What if I just hoped he got very, very, very slowly crushed by a steamroller? Would that be... I mean, he might still go to heaven. Let's face it, he's not going to heaven. Not after Not after what he did to Transformers. And there was some talk. Oh, this would have pissed me off. There was some talk, some discussion of, oh, should we get Michael Bay involved? Should we do a live action Voltron? And Michael Bay was apparently thinking of making that into a thing. And I swear to God, the murder that I would have done if that were the case, because Voltron is sacred. And thank the friggin' Lord that it was resurrected in glorious, glorious ways with Voltron Legendary Defenders. Great show. You can watch it on Netflix. Is very, very good. And honestly, if pressed to it, I would have to say that it rivals the original, because the original was so very formulaic in its storylines, because back in the day, everything was formulaic. Like, seriously, go back and watch, like, G.I. Joe, Transformers. A lot of that stuff was, like, cookie cutter, just stamping it out. Just, every week they're just like, oh, we have this new toy. And they're just trying to get us to buy stuff. Yeah, and it worked. Boy, howdy did it work. The emergence of the American child as a market influence, because basically Fifth Avenue taught American children how to whine until they got what they wanted. They're like, hey, Mom, Dad, you have disposable income. Throw it away on me. And the parents were like, well, will you shut up if I do? And they're like, for a little while, then you're going to have to buy me the accessories. Oh, my God. Interesting times. Thinking back on some of that stuff, like, I didn't realize until I was rewatching it as an adult how, like, pro-military buildup G.I. Joe was. Like, honestly, were they sponsored by the Army? Because I remember an episode where there was this bad senator, who was like, why are we spending so much money? Like, oh, each one of these jets for you G.I. Joes costs millions of dollars in taxpayer money, which of course it does. Like, you look at military pork barreling and it's like insane. Anyway, so yeah, like, we don't just have the best military in the world. There is no close second to us. Like, ever since the breakup of the Soviet Union, we have been dominant on the world scale in a way that is quite literally unjustified and unjustifiable. Anyway, but let's keep throwing money at the problem and it'll be fine, right? Ugh. Anyway, so this evil senator, bad, naughty, wicked senator is like, why are we giving you Joes so much money? And then, like, while he's on base, Cobra attacks and he sees the Joes in action and is like, oh my God, G.I. Joes, you saved my life. Here, have a blank check from Congress. As if, first of all, that's how American governance works. You need to have that happen with 2 senators. Oh, God. The cynicism sometimes. The cynicism that I produce is too much even for myself. It's like, oh, pull the reins on that there cynicism, buckaroo. Anyway, yeah. I forgot why I even start. Oh, yeah, because of my students, and they are reliving all the things. 'Tis true. So one of the things that I'm concerned about is on my mind quite a bit. Oh, and I need to wrap up here pretty soon. One of the things on my mind lately is the fact that time is running out for this school year. Like, we are just winding down, and I am very concerned about whether or not my actors are going to have their lines memorized in time to put this play on. It is very concerning. We have like 3 weeks left until the curtain goes up. Oh, sweet. An undead white. Anyway, yeah, we have like 3 weeks left until the curtain goes up. And, yeah, our narrator character doesn't have his lines memorized, although he is getting closer all the time. And yeah, most people do not have their large monologues memorized because they asked for the actors. When I asked them, I was like, okay, I'm going to write you a play because 3/4 of my drama program is graduating this year. It is not going to be a fun time next year. I mean, granted, some of the people that were great this year are going to be coming back next year. We're going to have a few upperclassmen, not as many as I'd like. And I've been trying to tell people, like, hey, please, for the love of God, like, bring your friends. Bring anybody that you think would be good at this or might enjoy this. Like, bring the freaks, the geeks, the weirdos. Bring them. We want them. We want them now. Oh, I think this is the one where, like, I'm not in love with my own outside, or I'm going to have to do a lot of leveling just to make it workable. Pretty sure. Yeah. Oh, I thought that was a horsey for a second. Oh, hello, you. Come to sell me things that are no freaking good. Come to give me deals that I will spit back upon your yamas. Yeah, I don't have emeralds to give you for melon seeds. I can get gunpowder from creepers. I can get sand from sand. Oh my god, like the coral block is the only remotely interesting thing you have, and I cannot for the life of me imagine what I would do with it. Man, they gotta fix that dude. Like, for real. Like, in the caves update, if all they did, if they were like, yeah, when we said caves update, we meant that the friggin' traveling merchant no longer sells stupid stuff. I'd be like, good. He actually gives good deals on stuff. Honestly, if it were like, give me, 3 iron ingots for 10 arrows, I'd be like, all right. Like, I'd be okay with that. I'm not saying it's a great deal. I'm just saying that I wouldn't be sad about it. But I see what he's got, and he's like, give me one of the most highly sought after gems in the game in exchange for basically nothing. Like, what? What am I even doing with you, you silly traveling merchant? He's a silly goose. Anyway. Alright, people. I feel like I had other stuff I wanted to say. This is me journaling. This is me getting my thoughts out. But apparently I'm very empty-headed tonight. It happens. Whatever. It's a whatever. Anyway, we're going to leave this play. We're going to go back to the infinite regression. There we are. It's a regression. It's infinite. Yeah, we put, 50 minutes into it. That's not bad. We shouldn't be ashamed. Oh, here's the thing I want to talk about. So, this is funny. This is the first time in my life that I have had a new Weezer album on hand. Like, OK Human, which is the newest Weezer album. I know it released like a month ago. I I ordered it and it didn't come. I ordered it on vinyl and it didn't get here. And I only recently canceled that order because they were like, "Yeah, it's gonna get here." And it's like, guys, I ordered it like back when it was announced that the album would come out. Like I pre-ordered that vinyl and it never came. So I waited from like, I don't know, Christmas till April and was like, someday it will come. Anyway, Weezer is my favorite band, and I know that that is a ridiculous statement for many reasons. Um, I'm a person who has a vast music collection. I know that people don't talk about music collections anymore, but that's only because people don't collect music anymore. I do, but that's because, like, I'm a guy who collects music. Deal with it, I guess. Anyway, like physical copies of things. I know that we're moving away from that. I know that society is going into like this, like get it on your Kindle, get it on your phone, get it on like just have it on a device, get it, like don't read a book, read a Kindle, don't listen to a CD, listen to streaming. It's not even don't listen to a CD, listen to an MP3, which like I have a vast MP3 library, which I finished listening to. I finished listening to all of my MP3s not that long ago. And then I went and I downloaded, and this is what's happening right now. I downloaded a ton of Fish albums. And when I say Fish albums, I mean, like, look, you can legally acquire, not even questionably legally, not even illegally, you can legally acquire tons of Fish albums, live stuff, which, here's the thing is that, first of all, I know that jam band fans tend to be, like, freaking insufferable. Especially Fish fans. I mean, my God. I've looked at the comment sections for Fish shows online, and you will never find a more petty, pissy, whiny bunch of weirdos in your life. It's like, honest to God, like, there was a show that I was watching. I was enjoying it. Like, Fish will do this thing. First of all, on their first album, they had a song called Dinner and a Movie. And since, like, for the last little while, there's Live Fish, which is the officially sanctioned service through which you can get, like, live Fish concerts. And then ones that you can buy, you can download just about any Fish concert from any point in time, and they're, like, fantastically captured and remastered and made to sound awesome. And it's truly a wonder. Like, no band has done better by their fan base in terms of live recording content than Fish. Excuse me. Anyway, and I love that. I love that about them. And see, the thing is, I didn't resist becoming a Fish fan because I thought that I wouldn't like it. I knew that I would, but I wanted to have time to like it. And it just didn't feel like the right time. And then I reached this point where I had finished listening to, I spent 10 years of my life, 10 years, a decade. I listened to all of my music alphabetically. All of it. All of my cassettes, all of my CDs, all of my mini discs, all of my vinyl. The vinyl is the one that took the longest time because it's the one I have the most of. It's not me flexing. It's just factual information about how I spent my money when I was single. Like, people who look at stuff that I have and they're like, oh, bro, how do you get a sweet collection like that? And the answer is this. Here's the answer. It's very simple. Like, when you are a young man with no financial obligations to anyone other than yourself, choose to eat nothing but friggin' ramen and like nothing of nutrition whatsoever and spend the rest on records. I kid you not. Like, that's basically how I was living. Um, and so, yeah. And I mean, granted, I also spent much smaller sums on Nintendo games and Atari games. And so my Nintendo game collection and my Atari game collection are pretty sweet. I mean, could be better. I know people who have better, but whatever. My vinyl collection usually makes people say, "Holy crap, that's a lot of records." And then you tell them, "I've listened to all of them, every single one of them. There's not one of these that I haven't listened to." And they're like, "Dang, how long did that take?" Like, well, the vinyl part of it took like 3 of the 10 years because the MP3 part took, like, honestly, the CDs took not even a year. Even though I have a lot of CDs. Tapes took less than a month. Mini discs, same. But yeah, anyway, so I finished this mammoth undertaking, and granted, the reason I was able to do that is because I was profoundly depressed the whole time. And somehow, like, when I'm not on my medication for my depression, it makes it so that I can't leave projects half done. I just physically could not do it. I couldn't stop. You know, it's like how I watched all of How I Met Your Mother, and like, I didn't really enjoy the first episode of that show, but I watched every freaking season, even though I knew it was going to end in a stupid place, and it ended in a much, much dumber place than I could have even imagined. And I cannot imagine a bigger waste of my own time, of the scant seconds that I have as a conscious creature who, you know, is part of the way in which the universe knows itself. You know, I have all these books, I have all this fantastic music, I have the artistic achievements of humanity, some of them great, grand, glorious, amazing. And yeah, I watched all the episodes of How I Met Your Mother. Doesn't that sound incredibly stupid? Like, that's a waste. Like, I feel like um if ever, you know, if ever, no, I'm not even going to make the statement that I was going to make because it's too wildly offensive. But it just, it ends with me being, no, I'm not even going to say it. It's too terrible. I'm ashamed of my own brain for thinking of it. Just think that there are so many people who will never get the chance to exist. There are way fewer people who get the chance to exist than don't. I mean, just consider the odds. First of all, like, from the male point of view, the vast majority of male biological material is wasted. And when I say wasted, I don't just mean that. I mean, like, in all ways. Just does not go toward the fertilizing of eggs, is not used for reproductive means. So yeah, the vast majority. We're talking millions upon millions upon millions per man per year. We're talking, you know, yeah, repopulate in a single year enough to repopulate the earth many, 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 many times over. And that all just goes to waste. Then the female reproductive material that goes to waste once per month, and then consider the fact that 80% of fertilized eggs do not attach to the uterine lining and do not become pregnancies. And then take into account all of the miscarriages, all of the abortions, all of the stillbirths, various issues that take place in the prenatal stages. Um, yeah, and yeah, and that's even without taking like infant mortality issues into account, like or people who die in early childbirth before really getting to experience much of what the world has to offer. I'm just telling you that, like, of the people who grow old enough to contemplate their own mortality, how many of them are really and truly living in a way that all of those who will never, ever get the chance to live, how many of them are living in a way that those who will never get the chance to live will find acceptable? Practically no one. I swear to God. Like, I can't imagine that. Like, think of someone who seems remarkable. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, Elon Musk." I must confess that I do not have enough of an interest in Elon Musk to know enough about him. I mean, I know in general terms what he does and what he has accomplished. Um, but yeah, like, let's say an Elon Musk, would that even be acceptable? Like, he's accomplished quite a bit over a, short lifetime. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Uh, I do know that given the chance, uh, the vast majority of those unborn potential people, if given the chance, they would absolutely watch every single episode of How I Met Your Mother. And a lot of them would watch it and not even regret it. At least I have the wherewithal to regret having spent that time. What a waste. Anyway, so here's what's remarkable about what's happening in my life right now is that when you become a music nerd and you have vast, vast holdings of music and you take the time to listen to all of it, it's quite a bit. Um, it, it's the kind of thing where you appreciate what you have, but also you lose something in the process. There is a sense of childlike wonder. I remember making tapes, and any time that, like, I would find someone, anytime I was at someone's house and they had CDs that I didn't have, or even tapes that I didn't have, I'd be like, oh man, like I would just carry blank tapes with me and be like, oh man, can I tape that? And I would just tape stuff all the time, all the time. And I'd make mixtapes for my friends. My friends would make mixtapes for me. It was a whole thing. And like, there was such wonder in the process of discovering new music. And that is like, discovering new music is no longer novel. I can discover new music all day, every day, and never listen to the same thing twice. I could go on Bandcamp alone and never hear the same song twice and be perfectly happy with every musical selection every day and never freaking hear the same song twice. Live out the rest of my days that way, because of the vast, vast amounts of music that exists. And so as you become somewhat more jaded, as you hear more and more and more music, and you become more and more elitist and snobby and whatnot, which, yeah, go figure. There's a Weezer fan who is also snobby. But yeah, I am snobby because, like, I'm super snobby because I'll tell you things as if they were factual. Uh, and I will tell you things like, hey, uh, Creedence Clearwater Revival's version of Proud Mary is the only one that matters. You come at me with your friggin' Tina Turner, you get the frick out. Like, I don't give a crap about no Tina Turner. Like, and I'm serious about that. I'm like dead serious. Someone comes at me like, oh, Proud Mary, that's that Tina Turner song. You shut the frick up. You don't know what the crap you're talking about. Like, yeah. Anyway. And things like, oh, what's glam rock? If somebody's like, oh yeah, the 80s metal band Poison, they're so glam. And it's like, no, they are not glam. Like, Mark Bullen is glam. David Bowie is glam. Roxy Music is glam. But no. Like, just these inane things that only really, really big music dorks give a crap about. And I do have a group of other big dingus music dorks who give a crap about the same stuff, and we'll just talk about it together, and we'll be like, yeah, we're right about everything. Oh, it's so pathetic. Anyway, but here's the thing is that in college, I met this girl, and this was when I entered a new phase, which was ripping and burning CDs. And she had a ton of bands I'd never even heard of. And I was like, can I hear some of these? And she starts putting music on, and I'm like, holy smokes. And here's the funny thing. This girl is like hella cute, like really cute. A lot of boys were like all about this girl. I was all about her music collection, if that's any indicator as to what a big dork I was and am and will forever be. Anyway, regardless. So I start borrowing CDs from this girl, and among them were 2 Fish albums and 2 Widespread Panic albums. And yeah, like Widespread Panic, I don't know. Like, I need to give it more listens, but it doesn't do enough for me. Like, I'm okay with it, but I don't like, it doesn't move me in the same way. Like, there are a lot, and it's not even that, like, if you want to be like, oh, you don't like Southern rock, like, no, that's not it at all. I love Southern rock. Like, there are a lot of things that I really, really like. And like, you know, anyway, I don't want to go on a whole tear here because I meant to wrap this up. Sorry to the Widespread Panic fans. I promise I will give your band more listens. But what's happening right now is glorious because I am falling into a musical rabbit hole and loving it. And that has not happened in a long, long time. It just hasn't. Like, for 10 years, I spent all this time just trying to appreciate what I already had. That was the whole point of listening to all my music was, to try and get out of this endless cycle of acquisition. We're trained in our brains that we just need to consume. And yeah, look to Noam Chomsky for, critiques on where that comes from and why that is. I think it's very fascinating, but like, it's hard. It's hard, even as an intelligent person who is aware of the constant pressing urge to consume. It is hard to break free from the cycle and truly, really think and act for yourself and choose things and do things because you want them and for no other reason. It's so much harder than it has ever been. And it's funny because Fish is a band where they're kind of there are only a few ways to feel about Fish. Like people would say you either love them or hate them, but that's overly simplistic. Either you have not heard of them, uh, or you have heard of them, but you're kind of like, eh. Or you have heard of them and you're like, I freaking hate Fish and all their big stupid fans and all their fans nonsense and like, oh, Gamehenge and blah, 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 blah. Have you seen the Rhombus? Blah, 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 blah. Like, oh my God, yeah, the Great Went and blah, 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 and like all this nonsensical, ridiculous Fish fan nonsense. But like, I am falling in love with a band in a way that I have not done in a long, 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 long time. And it's Fish. And did I mean for it to be Fish? No, you can't mean these things. I was like falling in love. Like, you can't control a lot of that. You think you can. Even me with my scientific understand, like I've looked into what scientific definitions of love are and how it's determined. Did that when I was a very, very lonely and desperate person during some very lonely and desperate post-college years. Anyway, never mind, moving on. But yeah, it really is like falling in love, because even when you do know the concepts that guide love and you do know the biological feedback that causes you to have that feeling and all of that, like, you understand it, but that's not the experiential. And that's something that I've come to realize is so much more important, especially in this time when we're all dealing with a pandemic. The very unique thing is that we are all alone in the exact same way, and we would be experiencing it together, but that's impossible. And I keep waiting for this like mass awakening of like, oh, you've been lonely just like I've been lonely. Come here and get a hug, you know, except for I'm not big on hugs. I'm a very ridiculous person. Anyway, regardless. But yeah, like, I tell you, like, falling in love with Fish is just this incredible thing, because there's so much to the band and there's so much to fandom in the band. You get to learn about like the Helping Friendly book, and you get to learn about like, oh, this is what Trey was doing for his, thesis, and this is why this is a thing, and this, like, there's so much to it. And honestly, there are people who devote essentially their entire lives in an almost ridiculous way to Fish. And I'm not ready for that, granted. Like, that is a bridge too far. Like, I have a wife and children and things. Like, if they ever came in my neck of the woods, I would absolutely love to go and see them play. And the thing is, like, yeah, so that cute girl with her album collection, she had a couple of Fish albums, and it was Hoist and Billy Breathes were the two albums. Reasonably solid choices too, but those are studio albums. And as everyone knows, the studio Fish and the live Fish are two very different things. And both acceptable, both awesome, both interesting in their own way. But, you kind of understand the studio albums as a basis from which the live shows are taken. And the live shows, it's almost as if I'm trying to think of a way to, anyway, I don't think I need to put that much explanation on it. I'm thinking in terms of oh, well, this is the Topitica, and these are the Jodica tails. Like, nope, we don't need it. Like, that's stupid. That's stupid. Get out of your own head. You're not using Buddhist references as a means of understanding the difference between studio fish and live fish. But like, it's funny because it's the kind of thing where you can't really impart it unto someone else. You just can't. And that's one of the things I love about it. It's like either you're in or you're out. Like, I mean, granted, there are people who are not given the chance to be into fish and they're just like, I don't know what this is. And then there are people who are given the chance and they're like, eh. And then there are people who are given the chance and they're like, stop pushing this on me. I freaking hate it. You know? And then there are the people like me who are like, oh, this is increasingly awesome. I haven't had that in forever. And so I have a Weezer album still in the shrink wrap. And this has never happened. Never in my entire life. Like, Weezer albums are very important to me. And, you know, I even had a theory that was true for a while. And I mean, it was true for a while, not because Weezer is cosmically looking out for me, because that would be stupid. But there would always seem to be a Weezer album coming out at big, important times in my life. There was a Weezer album that came out while I was on my honeymoon. There was a Weezer album that came out right around the time of the birth of our first child. There was a Weezer album that came out when I graduated high school, when I graduated college. So many different changes in my life that, you know, there was a time where I was very depressed, and then Weezer released a very depressing album, and I was like, great, you guys get it. Yeah, so for a while there, I was like, yes, we are simpatico, but that hasn't been the case for a while, you know, for at least half a dozen Weezer albums by now, because they have several. Every time I think that I'm like, yeah, I know how many albums they have, and then I'm like, wait, White, Teal, Pacific Daydream, and now Okay. And apparently Van Weezer is already recorded and ready to go. They just haven't released it because of the pandemic. Anyway, regardless, it's been half an hour of me just talking into the infinite regression about things that no one other than me could possibly care about. But I'm just telling you that the experience of finding something that is all of a sudden delightful and wonderful to you is amazing. And there are only so many times in your life that you're going to have that you're going to really and truly fall in love with something. You know, I've watched, and I have a brother-in-law and a sister-in-law and their family who all of them have just fallen for Brazilian jiu-jitsu. They love it. They started taking Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and now it's like everybody in that family is their favorite thing. They're just all about it. And they celebrate each other's advancement through the belts and everything. They go to tournaments as an entire family and just wreck everyone in the tournament. Like, they're pretty good at it. But like, it's love. It's love. And you just find the things in life that you love. And here's the thing that I'm trying to get better at all the time, but I'm not very good at. And I definitely have room for improvement. But like, try not to hate on things that bring other people happiness and joy. Like, try not to. Like, if it's not your thing, then it's not your thing. And whatever. It's fine. Like, things not being your thing, meh. The world is full of things that are not your thing. Fetal duck eggs, not my thing. People freaking love those. Like, I'm just telling you, like, the world is full of things that are not my thing. They just are. Yeah. But try to find those things that are your thing and then just take joy in them and delight in them and understand that like you have a finite number of breaths that you are going to take, inhaling and exhaling as we spin through the void on this tiny speck of dirt that we call home. And whatever causes you to feel like anything that happens before your inevitable demise makes this trip worthwhile, then clutch to that with both hands and don't let anyone say boo about it. That's what I think anyway. And I like fish, and I played in my classroom, and I feel like my students all really really hate it because they don't like music with instruments. I know that that's a very like ageist, like ridiculous thing to say. Like, no, you don't like instruments, but like I have a number of students who like really bristle when they hear guitars and stuff. They're like, ooh, guitars. Ugh. It's like, what? Guitars are what music is made out of. At least that's the generation I came up in. Anyway, I'm gonna post this thing. Otherwise, it's gonna take all night to post. So, people, have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful rest of your entire life. I mean, I'll see you again. No, I won't see you. You'll see me again. Uh, Assuming that you watch this friggin' channel, which you shouldn't. Like, there's so many other more worthwhile things to do with your life. Watching YouTube is one of the most stupid things you could do, especially like watch How I Met Your Mother rather than watch this nonsense. Ugh. Actually, watch this. It's shorter. All right, people, I got to stop talking. All right, bye.